happiness. That's what I'm here to talk to you about. We're going to talk about gratitude in ways that are maybe a little different. We're going to talk about a gratitude list. I'm going to give you a little history of happiness. So I'm an academic. We're going to have to go back and talk about Aristotle. Aristotle claimed when he thought about happiness that it was the one aim in life that didn't need a justification. And sometimes in class, I'll have students think about why they're actually attending class. And they usually say, well, it's because I want to get a good grade in this course. And why do you want a good grade in this course? Well, I want to get a college degree. And why do you want a college degree? Well, I want to get a good job. And why do you want a good job? Well, I want to make money. And why do you make money? Because I want to buy shiny things. And why do you want shiny things? Because they'll make me happy. And why are you happy? Oh, I'm done. The logical chain. I'm happy just being. That's happiness. The problem is that as human beings, we're not very good at predicting happiness. Cognitive psychologists in the 20th and 21st century have explored this. Dan Gilbert wrote a book called Stumbling on Happiness. And his premise was that we just kind of muddle our way through. We think things like, oh, if I have a big house, I'll be happy. But then we forget that a big house, if we want to buy it, we have to live further away from where we work. And now we're commuting, and then we come home, and we're miserable in our big house. So we can't always think about future predictiveness. We'll say things like, oh, I can't wait till winter's over. I'll be happy then. I'll be happy when this cough ends. No, we want to be happy now. And we want to do that through gratitude. So I'll use a modern philosopher, Sheryl Crow. Because in Soak Up the Sun, she had the line, it's not about getting what you want. It's about wanting what you've got. And that's gratitude. The problem is that we sometimes think that there's a lot of mess in the world, right? And so we have to cope with anxiety, we have to cope with anger. At the beginning of his administration, Franklin Delano Roosevelt gave his inauguration speech with the famous line that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. But fear is real. And I want to show you that I'm not Pollyanna. I'm not encouraging you to just forget about all the problems in the world, because there are some. When you give your teenage child the keys to a car, it is damn near impossible not to be anxious. And when a car cuts you off, it's impossible not to sometimes get angry. We get upset when we think about healthcare costs, and we get anxious when we think about whether that cough is going to lead to something more serious, or that lump on my neck is something more dangerous. We live with that anxiety, so we have to somehow keep that at bay while we're cultivating gratitude. But we talk about healthcare costs, and that leads us to government. And if you want to be anxious or angry, there are plenty of media pundits who will be able to get you both. Just turn on any kind of media source and you'll be there. We also worry about weather. This is Hurricane Ike, 2008 hurricane. We worry about when the next hurricane might be, but we also worry about whether it's going to rain on the picnic we have planned, and we worry when it snows, and we worry about the wildfires in California and the tornadoes in the Midwest. We worry about a lot of things, so I am not saying there's nothing to worry about. And I'm also not encouraging you to do what the Roman philosophers, there's a school of thought that says Stoicism is the way to handle these kind of problems, where you just learn to accept everything. It's okay. That's not my argument either. My argument is that we need to try to be happy by realizing we have a lot and being optimistic about what we can accomplish. So let's use the example of a tree house. let's say a 12, 13-year-old wants a treehouse. I'm going to give you two possibilities. One is the Christmas possibility. Oh, please, Santa, bring me a treehouse. I want to get up on Christmas morning and look out and see a treehouse. That's one form of hopefulness. The other form is, I hope I can make enough money on my lemonade stand to buy the resources that I need. I hope I can understand the directions when I find them, and I hope I can corral enough family and friends to help me build this treehouse. That's a different kind of optimism, and that's the kind of optimism that I'm encouraging. So we're grateful, but we can still make things better. So I want to wrap up here with a story about my dog and my wife. But also, before I do that, there's a book called Tuesdays with Maury about a writer named Mitch Albom, who was a sports writer, and he reconnected with his college professor. So this was a book that resonated with me. Maury Schwartz was dying of ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, which is Lou Gehrig's disease. And he was bedridden. And Mitch would come and visit him. And one of the lessons that Maury tried to teach Mitch was that you can find pleasure in a lot of little things. And so one of the times they're talking, Mitch asked Maury if he could have his health back for one day. What would he do? And Maury thought about it. Said he'd have a nice big breakfast, and then he'd go for a walk. He'd have lunch with just one or two friends so they could have intimate conversation. He'd relax a little in the afternoon. He'd have a big dinner of pasta, and then he'd dance. And Mitch thought, that's so mundane. Like, don't you have a bucket list? Don't you want to do something exciting? And then Mitch realized what Maury was trying to teach him, which is it's the little things that matter. Like, people often come back from shore vacations and say, oh, it was so relaxing. I watched the sun rise. The sun rises everywhere. Everywhere. It doesn't matter where you are. You can watch the sunrise. You don't need a vacation to do that. Cultivating gratitude is kind of a daily thing. So, what I want to do at the end here is to just give you an example of what a gratitude list might be like. And you can do this. People do this with collages. People do it in their phone. I tend to do it in my mind while I'm walking. So I was up at 6 o'clock this morning, and this is the scene that I had. This is actually last year's photo, but I tried to find one that was going to mirror this morning's walk. So I was with my dog. My wife was sleeping. But I could say things like, oh, I'm grateful to be married to my best friend, and I'm grateful to walk with my dog. But that's not enough for a gratitude list. What you want for a gratitude list is to get specific. So let me show you. I'm grateful for fall weather. I'm grateful that leaves change colors because my eyes appreciate them. I'm grateful that I can sense the change in temperature. I love the way cool air feels on my skin. I'm grateful for the Berks Conservancy for maintaining these trails. I'm grateful that I live only 5 minutes away. This is Neversink Mountain. And I am grateful that most of the people that walk on Neversink are incredibly respectful. There's almost no trash. There's a really well-marked trail. I'm grateful that I was able to train my dog to stay off-leash because I really like walking her off-leash. She's very well behaved, but I also like that she's always excited no matter what. Talk about gratitude. Watch a dog and you'll see gratitude. That's the specifics that we want to cultivate. So I would encourage you, maybe after this is over, on your way home, talk to people. Talk about what you're grateful for. Think about it. And try to do it just a little every day. This isn't a big change in your life. It's just following Sheryl Crow's advice, right? It's not about getting what you want. It's about wanting what you've got. So try gratitude. I think you'll be happier. Thanks.